All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the men of great millstone. Shalom to the Akim and the few Akwat who may be listening. This is your brother Batak Allah from the GMS camp here in Chicago, coming back at you with another video through the spirit and power of Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai. All right, and today, as you can see, the topic that we're going to go into is endurance, and we're going to touch on what role that characteristic has to play in this ministry, man, because it's very important. All right, but the first precept I'm gonna grab is this 1 Timothy 4:8. It says, "For bodily exercise profiteth little, but godliness is profitable unto all things, having promise of the life that is now and of that which is to come." All right, now of course, the first analogy that I want to give with the endurance is when you're working out, when you're running, whatever you're doing, endurance is the ability to continue doing what you're doing, through fatigue, through pain, through whatever, until you complete the task that you are going to complete, that you're set to complete. All right, not getting tired, not giving up. How long can you push forward? All right. Now, like the scripture said, bodily exercise does profit of little. We don't, put all we don't rely on carnal things, so to say. Okay. We rely on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. And really the only way out of this place, when the destruction comes is through Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai. Having muscles or being able to fight or anything like that is not going to deliver you from these nukes. Only Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai can do that. But, in the words of the beloved Elder D-Mash from GMS Indianapolis, also formerly at GMS Chicago, we only know a little bit about the Lord, and look at how much, he's blessed us to be able to do with just a little bit that he's given. All right, and that's not to say that, we don't have enough. We have everything we need. But the point is, we don't know everything. We don't know everything about the Lord. All we know is what we need to know, and look at how much we're able to do with that. All right. And the thing about the exercising, and it's, it varies brother to brother. I believe it's something that brothers should do, because of the positive effects that it has on your life, not about vanity. I mean, it comes with looking good too. I'm not going to say that that's not a benefit from working out, but, more importantly, your health first and foremost, of course, but the mentality that it gives you. All right, because once you're training, working out on a regular basis, whether it's training some type of fighting style, or just going to the gym, or whatever it is that Jake does to get active, like when the Apostle Gabar walk with the walks, putting the weight vest on, walking, riding the bike, when you're doing those things, first of all, you make a decision to actively go and do that. And then while you're doing it, you are making a decision to complete that task and not quit, and because when you're working out, you're going through pain, you're going through fatigue, you're going through things that will make you want to say, oh, well, maybe I should just stop. It hurts. I've done enough, whatever, I'm tired. I want some water, whatever it is, and it's the same thing with this truth, man. When we're in this truth, you're constantly battling, you're constantly fighting. And that's not to say that the Lord won't give you a break from time to time, or that the Lord won't give you blessings and good things, because if you're serving the Lord and you're doing it with sincerity, it's going to be good days and it's going to be bad days. It's a part of the deal. We have to remember that we are paying off sins from our past lives, and we also working off sins that we committed while we was in the world too. Those are things that, so when bad things happen, think about that. But as far as, a lot of times, man, things will make brothers feel a certain way, whatever aspect of their life that it is, you know, maybe they job wants them to dedicate more time to their job, and they will have to stop going to camp because of that, or the woman tells them that they don't leave the truth, that she'll leave and take the kids or whatever, a lack of endurance will make you turn your back on the plow, and we're going to get that at the end, Lord, or coming in a minute, Lord willing, Salakia. Having a lack of endurance can cause you to turn your back on the plow and fall out of this truth. And if you do that, you're gonna it would have been better if you just never even heard the truth, because the judgment that you're gonna receive is gonna be far worse than somebody who doesn't know. You're gonna receive many stripes because you knew. All right, but the exercise, the working out, especially high intensity, but whatever you're doing, it teaches mental endurance, it teaches mental toughness, and it puts you in a place where in order to see results, you're going to have to go through pain. In order to see results, you're going to have to be disciplined. In order to see results, you're going to have to, go against what your flesh wants to do. All right? And it's the same thing with this truth, and that's a very valuable, thing that you can take from working out. And like I said, it's not always about, being, on swole, being Ronnie Coleman, or, if that's what you want to do, of course, brother, as long as that's not interfering with you in this truth and you're not doing anything unlawful, you want to lift weights and have a nice physique, there's nothing wrong with that, But even if it's not that, even if it's not combat training, whatever it is that you're doing, when you're putting stress on your flesh, on your body, and putting stress on your mind by doing these difficult tasks, but you're enduring, you're completing the tasks, that teaches you a certain mentality that's needed in this truth, because negative things are going to happen, obstacles are going to happen, things are going to make you uncomfortable. You're going to be in uncomfortable situations. You're going to have to sacrifice certain things to continue on this walk. And without the right mindset, you can get tired and just decide to tap out, Now, this is Salakia for the explanation, but I just wanted to make sure that I was crystal clear with that. All right, but this is Ecclesiastes 9:11. I returned and saw under the sun that the race is not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, neither yet bread to the wise, nor yet riches to men of understanding, nor yet favor to men of skill, but time and chance happeneth to them all. All right, so it doesn't matter, how built up a certain individual may seem at a particular moment. All right. And I'm not going to say the things that we do don't matter, because we serve in the Lord, so it is accounted for. But in order for it to really be counted and for it to matter, you have to endure to the end. If you don't endure to the end and you fall out of the truth, all your good works are going to be forgotten, man. And you're going to get toasted with these 2/3. All right. And you're not going to be able to lean on the fact that you was in the truth for however long you was in the truth. That's not going to save you. If you turn your back on the plow, you're done. All right. You quit on the Lord, and, the Lord is going to decide to quit on you when you need him. All right. And that's just what it is. So it's not about being the deepest brother. It's not about knowing the most breakdowns. Of course, we study, we do what we have to do in order to do our job. And we always want to be learning and want to be growing in the spirit, because that's a part of this walk. But just because certain individuals may seem like they're on a high level doesn't guarantee that they're going to make it to the end, man. And you have to, it's not to castigate other individuals. It's really about examining yourself and keeping that mind frame when you're evaluating yourself. Yeah, you might know a lot of breakdowns. You might know certain things. You might be a very deep brother. You might be in the spirit at whatever particular moment, heavy. All right, but the Lord can take that away in a moment if you're not careful, man. And that's why, You know, it's really about endurance. It's not about being a front runner. Okay. This is which a front runner is somebody who, let's say you're running a race, a distance race. The front runner will get a big lead in the beginning of the race, and then as the race goes on, you know, they get tired faster, and then all the people that they had the lead on that didn't use all of their energy up front end up catching up to him at the end of the race and beating him worse than the lead that he got and that he had on them, you know. But this is Luke 9:62. It says, and Yahushua said unto him, no man, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of Yahweh. All right, so if you don't endure to the end, but you chose to enter into this work, that's the worst thing you can do, man. You're gonna be in severe troubles. I would say danger, but you know, danger can sometimes be avoided. You ain't gonna be able to avoid the punishment that the Lord is going to bring unto you if you put your hand to the plow and turn back, man. All right, that's why we got to pray that the Lord keep his spirit on us every day. Pray that the Lord keep his spirit on the Akim every day. All right. Because, you know, anything can change. Everything is moment to moment, man. One moment have known, you know, I ain't been in the truth that long, but I've seen a few brothers fall out. One moment the brother was good, and then the next moment the brother wasn't good no more, man. All right, and that's a scary thing. And these is not no light brothers that was viewed as light individuals, man. These is 10-year individuals that I'm talking about, man. Over 5 years for sure. Not just some dude that came around for a month or 2 months and then decided that he didn't want to do it no more. You know, these is individuals that was in the camp for years, you know, before I came in. All right. But, you know, as the scriptures say, time and chance happens to them all. Anybody can get it, man. It can happen to anybody. It can happen to me. It can happen to you. That's why we got to stay prayed up and be on point to the best of our ability and really understand what we're involved in, like the Apostle Gabar always goes into, man. This is not going to be a quick process, man. All right, now we seeing prophecies happen and all of that, and that's beautiful. We rejoice in those things. But the mindset that you need to have is that we're going to be here until we not here no more. All right. You shouldn't, it ain't no countdown, ain't none of that, because you don't know when things are going to happen. Even Yahushua doesn't know when he's coming back. All right. Only the Father knows that. So the mentality that you need to have is a dug in. You know, if brothers are familiar with like war shows like Band of Brothers or The Pacific, which is some, you know, if brothers got time, you know, good shows, you should watch it, you know. But you got to be in your foxhole, man. And you got to be dug into your foxhole, and, you know, as comfortable as you can be in the foxhole, that's what you need to do. Because we hunkering down right now, and until Yahushua returns, that's the state we're going to be in. All right? And right now we chilling. It's going to get much worse the closer that we get to when Yahushua comes, man. And that's why, even with the exercise analogy, that's why it's so powerful. Because guess what? When you're working out, you know, let's say you do you're doing a set of a bench press or something like that. You know, them first 7-8 reps, you can do those. You're gonna be able to do that. Yeah, it might you know, the weight still is weight. You know, you still moving the weight, you still doing something, but the real gain, the real progress, the real work don't start happening until you start feeling the pain, until you get close to failure. All right. And it's just going to be the same thing with when Yahushua returns, man. The closer and closer we get to the finish line, the more difficult things are going to be. When you're running in a race, you know, at the beginning of the race, you got your energy. You know, you good. As the race goes on, you're draining your energy, and that's, you know, after a certain point, you know, you just moving, man. All endurance. You just continuing to go forward, you know, through pain, through fatigue, through all of those things. And the fatigue gets greater, the pain gets greater, the farther you go. All right, the closer to the finish line you get. So, we have to keep that in mind and understand, what we signed up for. This is Matthew 24:13. It says, "But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved." All right, so that's the way that you receive salvation. All right, by coming into this truth, repenting of your sins sincerely, putting off the old man, killing the old man, becoming a new creature in Yahushai, doing this work. That includes doing videos. That includes going out on the highways and byways. All right, studying, reading, going to class. And we are to continue in these things, being a brother, not just tasks, or not just a list of tasks. Being a brother, man, which is really, very important. At the top of the list, one of the most important things. All right. We have to do all these things, and we have to continue to do them until Yahushua returns if we want to receive salvation. Once you decide to stop and you turn your back from the plow, Yahushua might come back 1 minute after you did that, and guess what? Your ass is cooked, man. All right. So, as my old coaches would say in football, you have to run through the line. Don't start slowing down once you get close to the end. Sprint through the end, and then once you're through the end, then you can slow down. All right? And that's the spirit that we got to be in, man. We got to constantly be pushing through the end, man. Once we on the chariot, then it's time to rejoice. Lord willing, we be at that number. Okay? But until then, man, we fighting, and we're going to continue to fight Lord's will as long as the Lord keeps his spirit on us, man. All right, so with that being said, we're going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh B'Ashem, Yahushai B'Ashem HaKakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, the elders, and the men of great millstone. Shalom to the Akim and a few Akwat who may be listening. Lord willing, this was an edifying lesson. Until next time, Kwam Yasharallah, Wa Abad Babal.